Thank you for joining for today's session. We have Uwe guiding us through the wiki on how to use it, all the tips and tricks. This came out as a request from some implementers, and this was always a standing request from others as well, particularly after Uwe did an overview of the various communication channels we have, that we should provide some guidance on the wiki for people who are not very comfortable yet to post directly on the wiki and create content. So we'd like to take this opportunity to basically make you feel more comfortable with the wiki, and to really encourage you to create content on the wiki and then share it here, so that it's much easier for everyone to do collaborative work. Um, yeah, and we will be recording this session, so that it's useful for others later as well. I hope that is okay with everyone. If not, please do write something in the chat to voice your objection. Otherwise, I would now just hand over to Uwe to take us through the openIMIS wiki.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Saurav. I think I have about 45 minutes. I will not use all of it, I hope, to leave some space for questions and answers. If you need clarification while I'm talking, just go ahead. I don't know if you are a bit shy, you can also write in the chat, and then Saurav will stop me. But I think I should go through and then have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Okay, I'm sharing my screen, and what you're seeing on the screen, that's basically the homepage of our wiki. If you, I think most of you have gone there already, and you see a few standard elements that I'm going to talk about during the presentation now. You will see there are some colored boxes, a lot of links to other pages. You can create tables with overviews to other pages. There are different spaces, so there's a space list. There are tag clouds, for example. There's a log of activities, and all these elements on this page are put in there by us. It's not a content of Confluence. It's just something that you can arrange as you want. This is just an example, just to get you a taste of what it can do eventually, and maybe also what it can't do. There's also a sidebar where you have some quick links and shortcuts. This needs some cleaning, I guess, but most importantly, there is a list, a hierarchy of pages as well. So that's something you might want to jump to. A lot of people are using this hierarchy to find stuff. Okay, just to give you a very, very quick glance of what it does from the end result. Now I want to guide you step by step on what the wiki is, what's the philosophy behind it, because I think if we look at how it originated and who actually created it, it gives you a much better understanding of what you can actually do in a wiki compared to a Word document, for example, or a Google document. Please, if you feel there's a problem with the screen resolution, please tell me, and I'll start to I'll try to be slower from scrolling and stuff like that. So yeah, just don't hesitate. it's important that you are able to see. Okay, let's start. So this presentation is a wiki page itself, and as you can see, there's a table of content. There are different sections, chapters, and what I want to do right now is I go to edit mode. So this is a typical wiki page. I'll go to edit mode, and if you want, you can do the same thing. The link to the page is in the chat. And sorry, I have a dry throat a bit. And you see, for example, this first content, the table of contents looks differently in the edit mode. Otherwise, most of the stuff that you see in edit mode is very much the same as you have seen it in the original page when you first look at it in view mode only. Okay, let's start with so if you want to go there and maybe correct things or add information or something, you could do that right away. Go to the link, click on the edit button, and then you can join me in editing this. Okay, let's start with the history or what is actually is. The wiki is a collection of shared thoughts that can grow into something bigger. So you start from little and you like bottom up approach, and you start developing something bigger out of it. I always tell people to look at the wiki as not like a final document or something like this, but to look at it more in terms of a collection of notes that you throw into a box, and you have a couple of things, features that you can use to link those thoughts together and create something bigger out of it. From the history, the big thing when it came out, well, around 2000 or something like this, the big new thing about wikis was that you could actually have web pages where the visitors of the web page could edit the content. So especially in a team where you have like several people working on one topic, you used to have documentation pages as HTML pages in the normal web server thing. And you always had this webmaster syndrome. If something was wrong or needed update, you always had to wait for this one guy who had the credentials to upload the corrected page to the web server. And wikis actually gave means to people to edit content themselves. A big example is Wikipedia, of course. And I whenever I present this, I notice a generation change actually, because my big thing about Wikipedia from the beginning was that I could like correct wrong stuff in the encyclopedia. When someone has written bullshit, I was able to just correct it and put my corrections in there directly without asking anybody, and it would be visible right away. Now the generation thing that I'm seeing whenever I'm asking people about Wikipedia and do you know Wikipedia, most of the youngsters, like most of you, I guess, have used Wikipedia as a resource for knowledge. Like when they had to do homework, they would just go there and pull content from there. And but none of them have ever edited stuff. So that I found very surprising. So I'd like to invite you to the world of us old guys and be a bit more open to like editing stuff and be contributing to the content. Changes on pages are monitored and can be reverted. So that was one of the principles. Of course, if you have a lot of people editing stuff, then of course that might destroy a potentially good version of some content, and that's why you have a version control system in the back end of each wiki, and you can always go back to a previous version if someone has messed up. The first wiki, there's a link. You might be interested to go there. Was by Ward Cunningham, one of the one of the evangelists of extreme programming. Extreme programming, that was a very agile methodology where you would start software development programs in an agile way, meaning you would just start doing something and see if it works, and as opposed to the waterfall model where you would like plan a software development project from the start to the very end, and every line of code would actually be planned already before it is coded. And with extreme programming and agile methods, you would just do it the other way around. And in that sense, the wiki was also born as a tool that would support like those agile methods. So it's all about getting things done quickly instead of like spending a lot of time wondering what the best perfect end product would look like. Okay, what is a wiki? As I said, lots of single pages with the page title and the content. So as you see from this page, the page title is how to use the wiki, and the content is what you see here. And well, then of course you have a black box with thousands of pages. How do you find them? Best simple or most simple and down to earth approach is just create a resource page where you have like links to the most important things. For example, our homepage would be a structured content page where you collect links to like a page, like a space map or something like this, where you create links to single topics that might be interesting to the users. So that's the most simple way of like arranging your content a bit in a way that it is a bit better than just a box of single nodes. Again, since you can edit each page, it's also quite simple to do. For example, if you type in here a certain character, then it will just propose you a lot of pages already that you could use to link, and that way it's quite easy. You can do it while you're writing even. Then you have advanced features to structure your content. I mentioned linking pages, but it's also interesting to look at the backlinks. When you are on one page, you would like to know which other pages are linking to my page. So I have there's a for each page you can open up a detailed info section. I have taken one from our events page. So you find a lot of information here. Can you see it already, or is it still too blurry?
It's pretty legible now.
Okay, so I'm trying not to scroll. So down here you see a section incoming links. So from the space openIMIS, you have openIMIS homepage, of course, linking to the event page. You have this page, special meetings of the developers committee, linking to the event page. All these pages down here are linking to our event page. That's important to know, because if you want to change content on the event page, or you want to delete it, or you want to say you want to create something completely different out of it, you could consult this incoming link section to see whether your change makes sense. For example, you wouldn't want to delete all the content in the event page and create a page or replace it with content on how to prepare an excellent coffee, or a recipe on fried chicken or whatever, because then all the links from these other pages would link to the fried chicken recipe and not to the event page anymore. So that's a good way of controlling links, and to manage your content in a way that that you only do changes which don't destroy the overall meaning of the wiki. Yeah, and this is recommended actually. Another thing about links, if you not normally the link goes or displays the title of the page. The good thing about the wiki is if I change the title of the page, then it gets updated in most cases. There are some special exceptions. Then it gets updated in all the links. So if I would, yeah, for example, the events page down here, if I would go there and change the title events to events from 2020, then it would get updated on all the pages which link to the events page. So that's quite handy, because if you decide to rename something and you don't want to create it as a new page, then you can be sure that it gets updated in the referring documents as well. Okay, that was linking and backlinking. The other thing, you have seen it already, hierarchies. So each of the pages are in a certain hierarchy. There's always something that is called a breadcrumb at the top of each page. So this and that actually gives a path to this page through the hierarchy. So there's the openIMIS Sandbox, a collection of pages, openIMIS Sandbox Wiki space, and in here you have a page called Wiki How-Tos. You have a page called How to Use a Wiki, and so you know how Wiki How-Tos is a parent page to How to Use a Wiki, and Wiki How-Tos is a child page to the homepage of the Wiki Sandbox. If you look at this in our homepage, I showed it to you quickly. Are you seeing the left menu bar already?
Yes.
Okay, so here you have the hierarchy. On top, you have the page that you are seeing right now, and child pages to this page are welcome to the openIMIS initiative, openIMIS product, openIMIS community, openIMIS development, and in here you can click down governance structure, product group, and you would get to the implementers homepage, for example. So hierarchies are quite useful to structure your content, but I would not overemphasize them. So I would not really, hierarchies can change quickly. So I would not really build your content around hierarchies. Hierarchies are more a secondary mean to structure your content that is already there. And we will frequently change the looks of the hierarchy to arrange pages in a more useful way, for example. Okay, we have been to hierarchies. Tagging, that's another cool thing. Tagging is, well, you can't do it in edit mode, but let me go back to the home page. Each page has a very tiny, no, where is it? Let me use another page. I have no idea why this. Yeah, okay. A very, very tiny section down here, just before you have the comment section at the very bottom of the page. This one doesn't have labels yet, but you can add labels. You can call this documentation, and from the selection list, you can already see someone has used the keyword documentation already, and you add this as a label to the page. So now this page is tagged as documentation. And the cool thing about it is when you want to find pages, and that's quite a That feature is used by quite a lot of macros in the wiki. I will tell you later what macros are, but basically functions. So here's a macro that can generate a tag cloud, meaning those pages which have been tagged with a glossary, for example, are quite many, and that's why the word appears bigger. Tag clouds are quite useful for you if you really use it and tag your pages for yourself to find your stuff much easier than just, I don't know, going through the hierarchy or start. You can also search, of course, in the search box. But if the more pages you get, the more difficult it will be to find through the search box, and then tag clouds are quite helpful for your self-organization. Okay, that is one way of structuring stuff, tagging things. Then, yeah, I mentioned the search function. That's quite. I'm going back to the homepage. Search function is quite easy. You type a word. Artificial. Okay, we have no article on artificial intelligence, but maybe accident insurance. So as soon as you start typing, the wiki will propose you pages. You have some filter mechanisms by space, by contributor, and it's actually quite efficient to find stuff you're working on right now through those through this filter, because it gives a preference to the pages you have been working on recently. And then you can have structured content, as in a database, for example. If you there's a special feature called page properties. It's a simple table that you add to each page with structured information, and the row names of each table, they are like database fields, and you can do like a summary report. I will show you an example later from our opportunities page, for example. You can do a summary report with content from pages, and have it displayed as a nice table in your wiki page. Okay, those are like things. I mean, we are coming from a simple box of notes. You see, we're getting more structure. The more and more we get into it, we are getting more structure and more features that can help you to build up something bigger. As I said, the bottom up approach. So those are features which help you manage your box of notes. One other feature is different spaces. That's something you have seen it on the homepage. That is something to structure information on a very high level, and we don't want to use it excessively. So before creating a new space, we really want to think about whether we really need it. The main space is openIMIS. That's where we throw all our notes in. And then we have a knowledge base. A knowledge base is just the same, but it has information that is more like print ready, production ready. It is also connected to our service desk. So if someone wants to put a request to the service desk, they can start typing words, and the service desk will already search in the knowledge base on for these keywords and propose pages to the user who is looking for answers. So in the knowledge base, there are some FAQs and some how-to pages, and we have also moved the glossary there. So if you have some simple information needs, you can find it through the service desk. And then if you want to go there directly, you can also go to the knowledge base directly. So you see the knowledge base is a bit, theoretically, is a bit more clean than the openIMIS web main web or main space, which is more like an extended workbench. Then we have a sandbox. The how-to page you are seeing right now is in the sandbox, and that's a page that is only visible to users who are in the openIMIS team. So here you can mess around without being afraid that the whole world is seeing your changes. It's just limited to our community, so you can be a bit free to play around with stuff. And then we have some testing spaces. Even the glossary up here, that's a testing space. This one was just a simple test to see how we could set up a glossary. This is not productive actually. Same with the French version. Here we are trying out how to create multi-language wiki. That would be a more detailed presentation I could give on a separate date if you want. Yes, so very, very, very broad categories, and you can find your spaces from the top menu if you have started them. So here from this overview, you can see that this test glossary has not been started, and it doesn't appear in my search list, in my menu. So here you can star and unstar spaces that are of interest for you. Why is this important? We are in the Confluence Cloud, and there is a lot of other projects using Confluence Cloud, and you could add favorites from other projects as well. So if you and I believe some of you are, if you are active in other projects as well, then of course you might just star those spaces which are of importance to yourself. All right, that we're almost through with the basic structures. One more thing that is of interest, I think. Here, when I go to edit mode, I mentioned you can go to the link and click on edit, and then we can edit this stuff at the same time. It's a bit like Google Docs, for example, where you can edit the same document at the same time. The small disadvantage here is you don't really see who is editing what. I mean, if someone could go there, for example, Sora, for someone just to have a second user on this page, if you could quickly log in, and then we could see your name popping up here, and maybe
Hold
move
on.
your anybody can, no? So don't hesitate. Yeah, okay, you see Saurav has joined me, and you see Saurav's cursor is down here. And well, you can see where he is editing something, but you wouldn't be able to see the changes you are able to see the changes, of course, but if the cursor moves to somewhere else, then of course you wouldn't know who has done what. So yeah, okay, we can delete that. That's a nice thing that we're using when we are writing minutes, for example, of meetings, and then we can have others correct information already while I'm typing them. Okay, some principles of the wiki. Those were just the first one were features, things that we can do. Some principles, things that we should know, and that we should pay attention to. We do have low-level access management. What does that mean? I'm giving the examples from our wiki. So the main wiki space, I could add the word space here. It's content that is visible to outsiders. So we have all the content in the main wiki space is visible to outsiders, people who are not in the team. You don't have to be logged in or registered or something. You could just open up the space, the link, and you can read the content. That's important. But editing is only possible by team members. So that's of course to prevent I don't know, people from using it to spread spam through the wiki or something like this. So that's why we want people to be registered. And then of course we can also block single participants who are messing up. Commenting is possible for outsiders. So as you have seen on the homepage, not on the homepage, but on, for example, this manual by Dragos, you can write comments. Just anybody can do that. And if you're not registered, then of course you are only appearing as anonymous user. But the owner of the page and people who like this page, they will get a notification about the comment and are able to reply to your comment. So that is possible for everybody. And then you have profiles. Like if I click on a name, or maybe not in edit mode, but for example here, Victoria. If I click here, that opens a profile page, and the detailed content of that profile page is also not visible to the public, because I don't want like anybody out there to know where people have been working on and some of the detailed information. But if you want, you can edit your profile page and give more information to your teammates. And but you can also just edit, like here you have seen the name is Victoria Rabowskaya. That's a former colleague of ours, or no, she's still colleague, but just busy doing other things. And if she wanted to remain anonymous, she could change her profile name into Wonder Woman or whatever. And then the user would still be there. We could still see the things Wonder Woman has done, but we wouldn't know that she is Victoria. Okay, so that's why we are hiding the profiles from the outside. Another principle, be bold. Every change can be reverted. There is a change history. I told you there's a version control system and there's a change history. If you go to those triple dots, whoops, I don't know what happened. What is this? Huh. I think this, if I do it quickly, there's a page history. Have you seen it? And in page history, you can see all the versions that were created whenever someone has clicked on publish. So in the edit page, there's a publish button. And whenever you click on the content is always saved. You don't have to be afraid that you are losing content because you forgot to save it. It's always being saved, but it's not published. So as soon as you click publish, it will become visible and it will generate a new version. And here from the history, you can see what Dragos has actually done when he was working on it. That's something that you can see that Patrick and even me, we have contributed a bit. Someone else was there, Siddharth. And the good thing is you can always restore a previous version. You can always look at what it looked like. If you click on the version number, you can see the page in that previous stage. And you can, for example, compare two versions. Now let's take one that is a bit more back in the past. You can compare selected versions and you can see the differences that people have been adding. So here he added this video section compared to the other. And if you think it's a stupid idea to have a video section here, you just click on revert and go back to the previous version. Okay, let's see, what else do we have? So be bold. I think it's a Wikipedia principle. I think I stole it from there. Be bold, just start editing. The next principle, publish as soon as possible. Don't wait for your things to be perfect. It's not a print-ready document. That's what we're telling all our teams all the times. We are getting like print-ready documentations of what they have done in their projects. That's nice, of course, to have a documentation, but it would have been nicer if they had started documented directly in the wiki from the first line of code. And that way people can see what they are doing, can understand early what they are doing. And if someone feels that a team might need a bit of help or is going the wrong direction, then help could be provided right away. It's not good to stay in your box until your project is ready, and it's not at all agile. It's good to be as open as possible and just hack in everything as soon as it comes out of your keyboard. Um, Yeah. Next thing, single point of truth. You have seen that we have. I mean, the principle is you have a box of notes, a box of templates, a box of pages with titles, and basically you can create a page as soon as you want, which is good. But we urge you to see if you can link up to any other content. For example, if you take this page, this is a presentation I have done already like 2 years ago, and I'm just reusing it. It wouldn't make sense to create another resource page on this because it's there already once. Why should I have 10 versions of how to work with the wiki? And the same we suggest to you. So if there's a documentation on a certain principle or a discussion of some ideas, try to find the pages where this is already being discussed and see if you can link up with them and reuse some of the content. That's basically the principle. If you look at Wikipedia, for example, of course, it wouldn't make sense to have 10 different pages of explaining who was George Washington or something like this. There's only one page, George Washington, and from there, everything else gets linked in detailed pages or something, but you have only one George Washington reference page. So that's what we mean with single point of truth. Avoid duplication and try to integrate with what is already there. Yeah. The next thing I recommend to you is no fancy formatting. Let the wiki do it. You can see up here there's a lot of formatting options, but most of the important things you need is up here, like the pre-formatted sections, the headings, for example. Headings are quite important. Use headings as much as possible because that's what gets you the table of content, for example. But don't try to lay out a page. I mean, we have done it a bit here because that's a landing page. So we wanted to have a bit of an overview here. But what I see sometimes is that people get into the mood of um, creating huge tables or pages with layouts. Like here is a layout with 2 columns. Um, and you can even create a layout with 3 columns. Don't do it. Just pretend your page gets printed on a piece of paper and try to imagine what looks nice on that piece of paper and a piece of paper, and that's about it. Color schemes, all that is in the wiki already. So if you start playing around with a lot of colors, then it will look messy, of course. If you start playing around with a lot of I don't know, basically you just need like text, um, headings, maybe some bullets. You can include pictures. You can have simple tables, but don't try to like format a print ready page from this. This is about content, not about style. So what can be formatted automatically, that's being done, and that's good enough. All right, some tips and tricks. I'm trying to hurry up a bit. You have seen that this page is in edit mode. I mentioned this several times, and then you have a few extra features in there. There's the plus thing up here. It gives you a list of macros. For example, the link macros, or for inserting an emoticon, or like having special info boxes. You can create this from up here. Or if you are in the new version of the editor, I have to mention this. Yeah, I think the next point is about that. You can type / and then you will get basically the same list. Um, examples of macros are table of contents. Up here, that's a macro. You can edit the macro and give some special parameters to the macro. There's a documentation about it, so you can for each macro you can see what it does. Like for example, here I could change the type of the table of content and look at it. So that would be just a flat list of table of content points. I'm putting it back to my bullet list. I just don't do anything about it. You can have include content. For example, you can, if we go to, this is a nice example from I'm always using Dragos Dragos page on country localization. Here he has like basically created a set of subpages which you can jump to by going through the links. So it makes a lot of sense to not just create one huge page which has all of your content, but to create subpages. And of course, if you have single chapters as single pages, then it's a bit faster for downloading the document, and you can just jump to whichever page you need. But you can combine all those subpages into one big document. So that's what he has done here. I'm going to that. Basically, if you call this page, you will get all those single pages in the hierarchy in one full page. And when you look at it, the content is always in a macro. So he has this document. It contains all of the stuff that he has written. But what he has done, he has included content from another page in this macro. And this one is called excerpt include. It's just a section that was defined as excerpt on the page. You could also include a full page if you want to. So that's another design feature. You can be as modular as you want. The advantage is clear. If you create single modules of your document, you can reuse pages in other documents. For example, an introduction on what is openIMIS will appear in thousands of documents, and you would just have to include the wiki page that was created before by someone else. Also, when that content changes or gets updated, then of course in your version you will also have the corrected version of the openIMIS introduction. One thing I have to mention is when we started this wiki, they had a different version of the editor. There's an old editor version and the new editor version. And Saurav, could you kindly get out of the page again? Or I think I just publish and edit again. Then you should be out already.
I'm out now.
Okay, thank you. Then I go back to edit. And you will see there is this warning at the bottom that this page can be converted to the new editor. That's something that I encourage you to do as soon as it is possible. You can preview the page and you don't have to be afraid that you're destroying something, because you can always go back. I mentioned versions earlier. Use this feature if you see an old version of a page and go to the new editor. It has much better features, and well, not all of them were migrated, so some of the old macros don't work in the new editor, but when you click on preview, you will get a warning of the things that do not work in the new editor. And some of the things just don't work, so I kept a few pages in the old version mode, but you will see as soon as you try to convert it that there are problems. And the editor page that you see when you create a new page will look slightly different than from what you are seeing right now. Just be aware of that. And when you go to the how-to pages for this wiki, for example, here, there will be some how-tos which were done with older versions, and not all of them work anymore. So be a bit careful about that. You might want to go to the edit mode and see whether it needs conversion to the new editor version of the page. Some special functions I already showed. This triple dot menu to you up here. There are a lot of additional commands. Can you see it already? Can you read it? So you can copy a page, you can move it to a different parent, you can export it as PDF. Archive we don't use. I think delete is blocked for all of you unless you are admin of the wiki. You can have analytics, how many people accessed the page. You can look at the attachments. That's also very, very important. Like you can attach PDFs or images or whatever. Yeah, and I don't know, some advanced stuff. Maybe you just go through page source. Yeah, how was that page edited? Page information. I mentioned this earlier. Or you could import a Word document. That's also something interesting to play around with. If you have a Word document, a report or something as a Word document, you could import it into the wiki, and it will be converted into wiki pages. It's quite simple and quite powerful, and it works surprisingly good. I have done this, and several other people have done it too. So yeah, you might want to try that. Those are the special functions. If you have a lot of pages where you want to do similar changes, for example, in the glossary, if you want to like add the format of the glossary page or something like this, it makes a lot of sense to open a lot of pages in parallel. You always click on the link and open it in a new tab. And then you can open a lot of pages at the same time. And while you are doing that, the pages are loading in the background. And then you click through each of the tabs one by one, click on the edit button one by one, and then you don't have to wait for the editor to be like loaded completely. You can just do that, trigger that on each page, and then go back to the first one, start your editing things, and publish. And that's also what you do page by tab by tab, and that's much more efficient than opening a page, doing a small change, and then publishing it, and then doing this 20 times. That can be quite time consuming. Here's a link to wiki how-to, some tips and tricks, a link to the wiki sandbox pages. You can go there and just create your own page. This was one example that we have done. Yeah, and then we have a few sample pages like the wiki space, the events list, installation, country localization. Yeah, you can just go there and look at how things were done. I'm almost done. I just wanted to quickly show you the opportunities page because I had promised you earlier that I will show you quickly how to generate a report with structured information. So here you can see a table with list of opportunities, and each line was generated from the table that is linked from the first column. So if I go here, yeah, I don't know, or maybe I take one with a bit more content. You can see there is a table at the top of each page where maybe you try to memorize the first two rows or something: organizer type, web link, deadline, status, projects. And that is exactly the information that you see up here. So that is this one structure element that I wanted to show you. It's a bit more advanced, it's a bit more complicated. Um, but basically what you do is you create a macro which is called page properties, and you put a table, just a simple table inside, and that's it. That way you have defined a database structure, and you can use those things as an information or as a field name for this summary page that you can see here. All right. We have only 5 minutes left for questions and answers. Sorry for eating into that. It took a bit more than I expected. Um, I think what we definitely have to do is some more specialized sessions on this. For example, if you want to start working on the glossary, we could talk about how to use that. Another topic would be multi-language wiki, how we were thinking of how to set up a wiki in French and still maintain and manage the links between the wikis. Yeah, just any topic that you can think of after you have done your first steps. Just propose a topic, and we can set up another session and do some more in-depth training if you want.